There's a what? Oh yeah, there's oh yeah, there we go. It's made out of metallic spandex. I really like that costume. Oh, there's also makeup that you can do to alter how your face looks. For a woman cosplaying as a man, you're going to want to emphasize different things. You want to make your jawline stronger, so you would shade underneath along the line of your jaw with a darker blush. You also want to shade along the inside of your nose up to your eyebrow and then out here. Like, I didn't really have aesthetics and I want to look like a crazy person on the subway. And also you want to like do blush on your jawline a little bit separately. And if you go to a convention, my friends Tina and Jesse have these fantastic makeup panels where they talk about this a lot more in depth. But you would, instead of like, you know, a girl, you're shading along the cheekbone. For a guy, you would shade down here and blend downward. And that's like makeup to be a guy in like 30 seconds.
And one thing that's good to remember is that we are so new to, I mean, we're a really young hobby generally in the U.S., comparatively speaking. I mean, like, 10 years ago, there was, like, nothing. And I mean, like, if you saw someone who had buttons on their costume, you were like, oh my god.
Satin's the best!
Teach me. But so,
I think we'll have to talk about our first costumes ever after this. It's kind of hilarious.
But, so basically there's a lot of people out there who do, like, the drag queens, the drag kings, these people have a lot of stuff. I mean, they've perfected this stuff, and they can teach us so much. Like, I've been stalking drag queen wig sites for like a year and a half now, trying to figure out how you get that hairline. Volume is fantastic. Oh, and if anyone watches RuPaul's Drag Race on Logo, this is the best reality show that's ever existed. It's like America's Next Top Model and Project Runway, except it's hosted by RuPaul.
And more fabulous.
Yeah. At the end of everything, every episode they have to lip sync to see who gets kicked off the show. It's wonderful. And you can see them do stuff like, apparently, like, there's all sorts of manner of like fake boobs that are available on eBay if you search them properly, and we can use those. We can use all their tricks, and like for the drag kings or the female to male transsexuals, there's actually like people produce compression vests, which are like heavy spandex. T-Kingdom makes a good one.
T-Kingdom, yeah.
And they like you just put it on. It saves having to like wrap yourself in ace bandages, which is always good because like sometimes they start to slip and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, and they have them for the chest, and also women, female to male, they have them for the hips and their hip compression because guys have a much, they don't have it straight down, you know, ideally.
But I think the girls cosplaying as guys have a slightly easier, because a lot of these guys, like the anime guys for cosplaying, they don't look like guys.
No.
They look like ladies anyway.
Yeah.
Very pretty ladies.
Very pretty ladies. You have been like trying to ask a question for like 5 minutes, I'm sorry.
How do you get the hard to find fabric? Like a plastic style for the 5-star stories? Or the silver one? And the guy that just put it in the slideshow already.
Wait, which one?
The shiny.
Wait, which? We're talking about Giorno? Metallic. Okay, so the question was, where do you find those hard to find fabrics? You guys are really lucky. Very lucky. It's the garment. Okay, so everything, all that material was at Fanix House, which is on 38th and between 7th and 8th. I don't even know where we are. We are there. It's out. So the government district is fantastic. And here, Dia, talk more.
Yeah, no, if you live in the New York City area or can get here by train and don't mind taking a day to shop for fabric, you are in so much luck. We have a much easier time finding fabrics up here than a lot of people do around the country. Basically, the garment district, if you're not familiar, is between 7th and 8th Avenues, from about 37th Street up to 40th. There, you can just walk through. There's so many stores, and most of them you can haggle, which is fantastic. So you can talk down what you need. Because it's in such a small area, it can be really easy to find things because you can hit a lot of stores in a short amount of time. Otherwise, ask around. Mood Fabrics is one of my favorite places and ours. It can be kind of pricey sometimes, but it's good for really hard to find things in specific colors or textures or things that you might not be able to find otherwise.
And sometimes, I mean, the bigger stores with Mood and Elegant Fabrics, they're a little bit more expensive and you can't really haggle, but they have a much bigger selection.
You pay a little bit extra for the ease of finding it.
And basically, I mean, like, I have a day job over on, like, Midtown on the east side, so when I go shopping during the week, I have to go during my lunch break, and it takes so long to get here and back that the only way for me, that I can only really hit one store, so I tend to go to Mood or Elegant, because I know chances are they have what I'm looking for.
They keep a much wider stock than a lot of the other smaller stores. But like Renee said, Spandex House is a really, really spectacular resource. You can get all of your, spandex, cotton jersey, like nude mesh, power net if you want to make your own compression vests. Any sort of, they don't really carry so much by way of sweater knits, but, spandex is anything like that. You can find pleather, vinyl, metallic spandex, wet lip spandex, which is much easier to use than PVC. We're really lucky. There are a lot of good resources here. So.
Sorry, if you're looking for a print that is difficult to find, which often happens in anime, there is now a custom printing service that I just found, spoonflower.com, and
Did you say?
Sorry, spoonflower.com. They're new, but you can send them images that you want printed, whatever it is, of the pattern that you want printed, and it is a little expensive. It's about $18 a yard, but they will print. Yeah, it's not that much. They will print whatever you
for what
want.
they're doing at a small amount.
The minimum is only a yard. So you can get any kind of print you want for print matching at this point. If you scan your image and lay it out.
Wow, I wish that had been around for years. Exactly.
What do you recommend for people who are interested in making their own costumes but don't know the first thing about clothing?
This is cool. Well, for me, I learned...
The question was, she's asking, what do you recommend for someone who wants to start making their own costumes but doesn't know the first thing about sewing? How do you get started?
Well, I would say, the first things, to learn are, the basic hand stitches. You tie a knot in one end of the thread, you go in through one eye, out the other side, go like that. You loop it around itself to tie itself. That's basically how that was the first thing I learned to sew, and that got me through, 12 years.
It's a good base to begin on. Otherwise, honestly, I don't think anything tops having somebody show you how to do it. It's really the best thing to have somebody sit down with you and, take the needle in hand or show you how to use the machine. Explain how things work, how things put together. I was lucky enough that my mother has been sewing since she was yay big. So I started out back when I was 12-ish with her teaching me, and then it just kind of spun out of control. But aside from that, if you don't have anyone in your family who can help you, there are a lot of good resources in the city and around the city and all over the country where you can take lessons.
In New York, I know Fashion Institute of Technology and Parsons both do evening courses. They both do evening courses. I don't know how much they cost. They're probably a little expensive.
FIT does a lot of community school classes, so they're pretty reasonably priced if you're just doing those.
I googled sewing classes NYC a couple days ago, and I found a place called So Fast, So Easy. It's SEW, and they look like they have sewing classes too. Also, if you buy a sewing machine, not online, you buy it from a sewing machine dealer, they'll generally, you can come by a couple times and they'll show you how to work the machine and what it does, and you can sort of figure that stuff out from there.
That's really handy.
Also, I have a lot of books. Basically for me, I mostly learned from books until I was good enough to, get a job doing some sewing stuff, and then I learned a lot more stuff from the people who had hired me and were like, why don't you know how to do a cartridge-pleated hem? Those are the old-style things, on... in Pirates of the Caribbean, when they get those big skirts that go out like this, that's a cartridge pleat. I'd say some of the books I like are the Costume Technician's Handbook, and that'll tell you how to do a lot of stuff, even makeup, basic makeup. It's basically everything you need to know if you're working at a theater costume shop.
And a lot of that gets applied to cosplay and can work really well.
Also, actually, there's a lot of videos on YouTube for people showing how to do basic things like basic stitches, how to do a zigzag stitch, how to do a blind hem, how to put in a zipper. You can find a lot of videos for that on YouTube, which is good because they show little diagrams in books of the thread going in and out.
It can be a little hard to understand sometimes.
A little?
Okay, very hard to understand sometimes. It's a helpful resource though.
What's the hardest part of making it? Is it the arms, the sleeve?
The question was, what's the hardest part of making a costume? It really varies from costume to costume. A lot of people, I think, like you said, have trouble with sleeves, with setting in a sleeve. It can be really tough to keep it nice and smooth in the cap and not have little pleats or gathers. There are a lot of, and then sometimes for some costumes, it can be a certain prop you have to make, or a wig you have to style, or if you've got crazy shoes like we're kind of wearing now. Oh, sorry, I know you probably can't see them. But yeah, no, It really varies from costume to costume, but as far as sewing goes,